Good morning, everybody. My name is Tashika Lawson, and I am with the Historic Westside Revitalization. Today is November the 6th, and it is 10:02. So we were having some problems getting the actual setup to run today. But we wanted to actually come to you about a couple of things. Like always, today is Saturday, and we wanted to give you guys an update. There is actually a small business job fair happening today. It's over at the World Market Center. It's happening from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The address is going to be 432 South Grand Central Parkway. So this is actually in very close proximity to the West Side region. And we want to make sure that everybody who is looking for a job knows that they can go over there. These are small businesses that are in town that are looking for new workers. We're seeing that part of the new normal is that we're actually having a lot of employers having a hard time finding actual qualified people to actually fill positions and to be able to actually stay, especially with the amount of benefits that were being paid previously. A lot of people just were okay with staying home and kind of just collecting the free money. But we do see that train is starting to depart, and some people have already started feeling it. So if you're a person and you are actually looking for a good paying job, most of the actual employers who are going to be attending have committed to being able to offer $15 or more for their positions, or at the very least have most of their positions start or cap at about $15. So if you are looking for a job, this is a great place. This is something that was actually put together across a couple of the municipalities with the city and county, I believe, so that we can actually start getting businesses that need workers and workers that need jobs, a place to be able to meet up. So this is happening again today over at the World Market Center. It is going to be happening at 432 South Grand Central Parkway. The zip code is 89106, so this is in the 89106 area code. So please make sure that you go down if you are looking for a job. Another thing we wanted to talk about this week was this past Thursday, our organization did attend the technical training that was hosted by the city of Las Vegas for the CDBG, the ESG, and the Hopwood grants. So these are grants that are actually going to be offered on like 2-year periods that are currently being offered, and they're open for application through the city of Las Vegas. They opened on the 18th of October. They're closing on the 18th of November. This was an actual presentation to kind of get some inside information about what to expect. These slides can be found online, or you can actually send a message to Vanessa Velasquez with the city of Las Vegas to request the slides. Sadly, if you did not attend the technical trainings, you will not be eligible to be able to receive the funds for these grants. Now, that is something that we wanted to make sure that everybody is aware. Although we did record the actual session, even when we were recording, they told us that the recording will not actually act in place of the attendance for the grant. So if you were not a person who attended the first training at 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. or the second training from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. or 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., your organization will not be eligible unless you send a representative from your organization. It doesn't have to be the president. It doesn't even have to be the general manager. It could be the lowest person on the rung of your actual company that attended, as long as there was somebody from your organization that did attend. So that is something that we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of. We did kind of wonder why this training didn't actually offer a virtual component, especially with the number of people who may actually be experiencing things such as COVID from home. So that is one of the things that we were hoping. Maybe they actually offered a technical training in the first session. We went to the second session, but we're hoping that if this was mandatory, that there is some option for people who may have actually been locked inside due to an actual COVID restriction, for businesses that wanted to be able to attend, or people who thought that it would have been available virtually and didn't realize that you had to attend in person. So we will reach out and ask if there are special considerations for those attendees, because that is going to be important. We can't be in the middle of a pandemic and then have a mandatory in-person attendance where we actually didn't think that far ahead. So we want to make sure that we let everybody know that if you were looking for these grants that's for the CDBG, that is going to be for the ESG and for the Hopper grants. These are only open in every 2 years, and it looks like this process is probably going to last. The award won't actually be awarded until July, is what we were actually told, or June. But this is going to be a relatively lengthy process. So if you are interested and you did attend, please make sure that you get your application in. Don't wait until the 18th to get your application in. Try to make sure that you get it in early. I would say try to get it in by the 10th or 15th. That way, if you run into any issues, it gives you a little bit of time for your wiggle room. That is what we wanted to say about that. We do want to give updates on a couple of events that are going to be happening with the city of Las Vegas and the city of North Las Vegas. So next week, we're going to actually, on the 8th, we're going to have the SNCC board meeting, which is the Southern Nevada Enterprise Commission community board. So this is actually going to be the place where they are actually going to be either nominating or accepting the nominees. The last SNCC board meeting, they had 4 people who had applied. We do know one person. They are actually in the West Side, and they're going to be a new applicant that is actually doing some great work. So if you are a person who would like to come down and listen to this person's presentation and their nomination, and we want to actually see somebody who actually does live in the West Side, who has your face, which is what we hear a lot, and I mean a whole lot, when it comes to the West Side community. We want you to come down to the city of Las Vegas. This usually happens, I believe, at 4 p.m. So it's going to be on November the 8th. That happens to be on a Monday. So we will post that again as one of the items to be on here. I'll see if I can get a picture of one of the people that we requested to apply, because we actually have gone down to one of their projects and seen the good work that they're doing. They're not trying to fix just one issue. Their one project will address about 4 issues that are not only on the community's mind, but are also on the actual city's agenda. So when it comes to being able to actually look at the projects that are going to be put forth by this board, this person is somebody that we know is doing already out in our community, doing good work, and they have actually reached out to us they didn't reach out. One of their representatives, who's a friend, let us know the type of good work so that we can go down and actually look. It's amazing. We want to make sure that they are out there, and we would really like to see more people who are actually doing work on the ground right now, listening to what the community wants and actually trying to actually work it into the actual plan of the governing bodies, where we actually have an actual a true compromise of what is actually wanted by the community who lives in the West Side and is actually going to be impacted directly by these changes, and the government that is actually going to be making decisions that is going to be, leveraging a lot of change that is going to be coming through the greater West Side area. Next, there's going to be a meeting on November the 9th at 6 p.m. for the Planning Commission. If you are a person who would like to get down and see what it's like to actually have an item that's on the agenda for the Planning Commission, I do recommend that everybody who has not attended before does go down and actually take a look. Planning Commission is usually going to be the people who are going to tell you if your signs are too big, if your gates are, if a gate that's on your property is 8 foot instead of 8 feet instead of 6 feet. They're going to be the people who are going to be telling you if you need to have more parking. So these are going to be the people who are, the Planning Commission is usually who actually approves projects that are going to have to go onto City Council and then be, judged on the City Council, approved or denied. But they are also the body where if you are running into any issues when it comes to planning, this will probably be one of those places where you can actually go and look at the actual commissioners who are actually going to be on that board. So as we know, Ward 5 does have a commissioner that we have heard may or may not have the best communication. So if you are a person who is looking to actually go out and reach your commissioner, we know for a fact this is one place that you can actually go and see them at work, see how they're voting for, because we don't have a crazy amount of items that are going to be on the board, on the agendas for Ward 5, but at the very least, it's very important to see how they're voting in other wards, because at the very least, we want that same consistency being translated into Ward 5 projects. So this would be one of those great places to go. If you are running into problems with your commissioner, please try to see if you can actually get in contact with a person who may be below them, who may be able to help to introduce you. From what we can see, maybe a lot of the problems that we're running into is that we're not starting in the proper places. This is not something that that I have personally ran into. I will ring people's phones off the hooks and blow their email up until I get an answer. However, not everybody has that flexibility of time to do so. So at the very least, if you run into any issues, we have several people who are inside the planning commission, not the commission, the planning department, that if you're running into any issues, please let us know. We'll pass on the information from us to you, and then that way you can call. We usually run into very little resistance when we ask questions from Michael Howell. He's not a person who's going to overshare, but at the very least, he'll actually help to point you in the right direction. So you can reach out to them. The next meeting is going to be for the Board of Civil Trustees. That's going to be on November the 10th at 4 p.m. That is actually going to be happening over at the City Council chambers. So these are going to be different people who are working in the city that are going to be people lean on them to get information and to make decisions on our behalf. November 15th, we're going to have the recommending commission committee, and also the commission of the Las Vegas Centennial, followed on the 18th by the next city council meeting. So we have heard that one of the agenda items that is going to be on the city council may actually have to do with diversity and inclusion. We are actually really looking forward to seeing how that is actually going to translate and actually affect the West Side, especially when it comes to us being able to go after jobs, for us to be able to actually go after contracts. From what we can see, although there is an ordinance in most of the other cities and even at the Nellis Air Force Base when it comes to awarding jobs and actual when it comes to awarding grants, when it comes to awarding actual opportunities, we see that there are set-asides that are out at the Air Force Base that are being met when it comes to minorities, and that's going to be women, that's going to be African American, Latino American, and all of the other major minority groups, along with LGBTQ and LGBTQ plus, and veterans, and then those who are disabled. So if you are actually a person who is in one of those groups and you are actually looking to interact with the government and you're having a hard time talking to the cities or the county when it comes to trying to put bid in, you would actually have to go directly through either the Nellis Air Force Base Office Procurement, or you can actually look them up on I believe it's US Jobs. We will check that one out and see if we can get back to you on that one. But we have actually had people who've actually not been able to get jobs working with the city of Las Vegas as an entryway or a gateway into working with the government, that we're able to actually secure contracts using Nellis Air Force Base. So if you are a person who's looking to do that, that's another gateway, and we wanted to make sure that you are aware of it. But what we can see, the city of North Las Vegas also has its own set of meetings. We were actually compiling those ones. So the first and the third Wednesday of every month is when the city of North Las Vegas meets up for their city council. Their next meeting is going to be happening on the 17th of the month. So we also have the second Tuesday of every month. That would be the 9th for the Parks and Recreation, the second Wednesday of every month for the Planning Commission. So that is going to be the 10th of this month. And then the first Wednesday, unfortunately, we missed the Redevelopment Agency. We've got 2 other commissions that meet on an as-needed basis. So as soon as we are actually able to get those publicized dates, we will let everyone know. Clark County is the one we're working on right now to work through their agenda to see if we can get those all posted. But we wanted to, again, make sure that everybody is aware of the things that we're actually out there, out in the actual, we're out in the world trying to figure out how to actually make things work. The last thing we wanted to talk about was we have a grocery store anchor that is going to be inside of the Historic Westside. We actually walked through this past week, and we haven't seen a lot of improvement other than the fact that the name on the outside of the building has changed from the fresh in from the buy low or the fresh. Actually, I cannot remember what I think. I always think of the fresh and less. It is now Carter's Discount Liquor. If you're driving by and you see that it is Carter's Discount Liquor, when you go into the store, it's not only liquor. However, when we're looking at the actual focus of what we can tell that management is focusing on right now, it actually is the grocery store will be comprised of about 10% liquor, which I'm sure is part of the reason why it's actually been rebranded as an actual liquor store. We're not sure if there are a crazy amount that are listed on Yelp or Google, but if they have actually done that, that means that they would be cornering the market to bring new people into the area. However, from what we've heard based on talking to the owner, they plan on actually doing some more stuff over at their grocery store. We have our fingers crossed because we've talked to the grocery store manager a couple of times. And when it comes to, having the actual quality that's available in pretty much most parts of the city, we have not seen a crazy amount of progress towards that. But he said to look forward to that in the next couple of months. So all we can do is, look forward to that and hope. If we are not going to have an organization such as someone who can, apply for a CDBG grant and possibly be able to get access to something like that. From what we can see, we did want to swing back to, because this is going to be important, we wanted to swing back to the actual CDBG grant, because from what we hear, only 15% of that grant is going to be a lot allocated to organizations. The rest of that 85% is going to be utilized by the city of Las Vegas. So if the city of Las Vegas is using that type of money, we would like to know what type of, where is it going? Is it going to be staying inside of the CDBG grant process? Are you going to be acquiring new lots to change them or to return them to dirt and then for them to just sit there? Or are we going to do the things that we need, like use some of that money to improve infrastructures, provide housing, provide assistance for housing, provide training for people who actually need to be able to either repair their credit so that they can become new homeowners? What types of things are we going to be using this for? From what we can see, our entire country is using the CDBG funding in a completely different manner that is actually putting a lot more equity into their communities. And with this being with the city of Las Vegas and city of North Las Vegas being entitlement entities, meaning you don't have to ask for this money from the government. It's simply given to you based on calculations of your population and the actual need. So if this is something that is going to be based on your population and the need, and it cannot be changed outside of an actual act of Congress, because that's what we were told, then how do we get more money for something like this to come into our place so that we can do things like acquire failing grocery stores? We see a lot of big box stores that are going to be all around our town that are closed, that could possibly, we have engineers all over the world trying to figure out how to actually address the housing issue by simply leveraging existing assets and converting them into things that we can actually use. So if you are in the city of Las Vegas, if you're in the city of North Las Vegas, if you're at Clark County, or if you are the state, you guys all receive CDBG funding. When we attended the meeting this past week, we had a gentleman ask if the funds could be used, how are the funds used, and he was told that basically if the person isn't a Las Vegas resident, that the grant would not apply to them. However, we need to start working on things like misinformation. It was for one question that was posed during that, he was able to get an answer that was more comprehensive, which is, can he also apply for the city of Las Vegas, Clark County, and state CDBG programs? to be able to service the entire town. It is very important that we stop spending our monies, or sorry, we do stop spending the people's money. Stop spending our money when you're not talking to each other. It's important because if we look at things from a holistic perspective, it's important. If we're trying to address the homeless issue and everything ends at the border, at the city or county borders, that means that you don't care about how people are spending money on the other side of the street. When we have people who have needs just across the street, and you can see the work that the other municipalities are doing. So please put together the interlock committees. Interlock committees are vital to the survival of our town, because all of this infighting and you spending $1 and me spending $1 to address an issue that could have been solved with $1.50 is wasting our time and much needed resources right now. We need every dollar to stretch as far as humanly possible. From what we can see, the SNCC board meets once a month. We have no idea what happens in between. It's very important for us to be able to see that. Once a month, we've seen our actual Senator Dina Neal talk about something that actually, a proposal that's been on the table forever. We have a growing need of we have a need of rooftops, we have a need of jobs. We hear that there is a person moving into our city like every minute now. There is no way that we're going to be able to move fast enough to become a world-class city that can compete on an actual global scale when we're not talking to each other in actual meaningful dialogue. This is not only affected inside of the West Side, this is actually going to be affected across our entire city. We need to be able to sit down not only together as people who are running our governments and running the municipalities and actually start looking at this thing of not how are we going to spend this money? The question should be, how are we going to spend this money most effectively that is actually going to have the lowest impact on actually hurting our constituents, all of the people who are actually working for us. Not working for us, all of the people that we are working for. Because you have to remember, people who are in the city government, you are us as well. You have to go home to your families and actually, I know some of you guys are working in the actual departments and you guys are getting orders that are absolutely freaking ridiculous. Remember, there are whistleblower laws. We need for us to be able to bring a certain level of transparency because it's absolutely vital for us to be able to get things that are important. This is a grocery store that we know has actually been a blight on this neighborhood for a very, very, very long time. The fact that we are actually talking to the owners and we have actually had nobody that he is telling us that has actually come down and actually sat down in his grocery store and said, what is needed to actually make this an asset? What is needed to actually bring the actual food to people who need it? If you're looking at around this grocery store, even with the sheer amount of just lack of resources in this, the amount of people that are walking into this grocery store that are driving their little mobile scooters because they have limited mobility from the apartment just behind them, it's once every minute for the entire time that that actual shopping center has actual open hours. So when it comes to people in need, addressing the homeless issue is only one component. Putting up a grow facility inside of this neighborhood, again, that is one component. We need to be able to bring amenities that are actually going to help solve problems today. The one thing that we know that we could be actually talking to is having the grocery store talk to something as simple as 3 Square and actually having an actual mobile pantry set up there. We see that we actually have an ATM that's going to be in our parking lot from Wells Fargo that doesn't look like it actually has been replaced for the last 10-15 years. This is not an updated ATM. You are Wells Fargo. When it comes to something as simple as moving that bank into the grocery store and being able to help pay rent in that unit, it's important for us to start looking at things like best use. The best use for this grocery store is not a liquor store. It would actually be smarter for the city of Las Vegas to simply give the person who's in here whatever place that they want inside of the city in a better location to simply take the grocery store. Because it is an effective use of our money and our time. The people who are living in this neighborhood, although we have a lot of churches, a lot of nonprofit organizations that you cannot take money from, it doesn't change the fact that the people in this neighborhood have held this neighborhood for a very long time, for decades. They deserve your actual dedication. They deserve it. So if you're not a person, again, if you are not a person who's bringing change, you are watching it burn. Stop that. If we voted you into office, you should be better than that. If we put you in, if you are a civil service agent, you should be better than that. I will challenge every person who is making an actual decision on this neighborhood to go down to that grocery store and simply walk through the grocery store. Not Walmart. Go and walk through Carter's. Because I honestly don't think that anybody who's making these decisions has actually walked through this grocery store. And then I want you to walk through the Dollar Tree that's over there. This is the only store in town that I have seen that actually has their debit machine broken every single day. It has not worked, which means that they also are the only Dollar Tree that has an ATM set up in this store. They have multiple registers. You have to understand how this works. These are predatory practices. They are preying on this vulnerable community because people are allowing it to happen. We are allowing people to steal from people who can't afford to be stolen from. That is what is happening. We have bleach being sold there for $4.35 in a dollar store, plus the fee of the ATM. So a person is paying $6 for something that everybody else in town is paying $1. So again, if you have never walked through here, if you are a person who thinks that you are doing your best and that you have no problems going to sleep, knowing that you're stamping things saying, yeah, this is the best that we can do, I really challenge you. I challenge every person who's watching this to go down to the Dollar Tree and walk and see if that is what they actually sell in the Dollar Tree in your neighborhood. Go down to the grocery store and see if that is what they sell in your grocery store. Because I can guarantee you will ask more questions every time somebody puts something having to do with the West Side in front of you. Because equity is more than just paperwork. It's what you do to actually hold yourself accountable and hold the people above you accountable. Because we have to understand, this is, again, the one time that us as people can think about things on a completely different scale. We have actually seen how we had people like the MGM we lost so many jobs with that one corporation. And that's because that one corporation owns so much of our town. I am not a person who's attacking the MGM corporation. I'm a person who's asking the question of best use for the people who are in this town. Taking everybody's money who's coming here, that's something that you're going to do regardless of anything that we say. But you have to understand, people who work for you could simply leave tomorrow and work across the street, unless it's one of your properties. And competition is important. We want to be able to see things like you caring about the community outside of photo ops. We want to be able to see things like you, if you want for the West Side, because that is what we have heard on the last pastor's breakfast. Instead of you coming and taking a park out of the West Side so that we can grow food to supply the casinos, because that was explicitly said. It was said. If you expect for people to be farmers for you, Come down and make sure that pump some of that money back in outside of $500,000. It cost $14 million to shut down the F Street Bridge. I want you to think about that. One, break that down into $50,000 loans that could have gone to homeowners to either improve their properties or businesses to start inside of the West Side. We've seen more than 60 businesses close down. Clubs in this town did not start on the Strip. They were on the West Side first. Almost everything that we see that's working, that is actually drawing money to this town, was incubated in the West Side first. And that is a fact. If you are a club owner and you think that you have been doing the most, come down to the West Side, because that is part of your history. You wouldn't be here if not for this neighborhood. Because the way that these clubs got open is because for every club that opened on the Strip, one closed inside of the West Side. Facts. It's important for us to actually help the actual community who has actually helped our town more than anyone else. The whole blueprint for the actual Strip that we know today was not old downtown. It wasn't Main Street. It was the Moulin Rouge, because it was the one place where people can come and let their hair down, and it didn't matter who they were. It was just a place for you to come and enjoy yourself. If that isn't the Las Vegas Strip, I don't know what is. So again, places that are on like casinos. What do we have? Resorts World. We know you just opened. Send representatives down to the West Side to actually to the community meetings and ask how you guys can be a part of the community, because you have no problems with us going and working for you. But when it comes from you putting in the work for your community, we never see that. Day-to-day people don't see your hands in how it is that you are helping to improve our community. Paying income tax is the thing that everybody assumes that that's why we should be grateful to the hotels. I want for us to actually think about this from the perspective of how much money are we actually losing by simply letting the hotels pay our income tax? Because if we stop letting the hotels pay our income tax and we started paying what we see as the fair share of it, that means that we would be able to completely transform our actual city, because we'd be able to leverage a completely different set of rules against the people who are actively harming our community. So if you are a person in a casino, you are a CEO, you are one of these board members who says that you are actually equitable and you are a person who wants to see change, then get behind some of the actual organizations that are actually trying to support our community, especially our most underserved communities. Because the West Side, again, was a place where we had no problems treating people in a completely inhuman manner, but they were also the blueprint for all of the things that we truly enjoy in this town. So we went on a bit of a rant today. I know that it's been a while since we have had one of those, but again, we the people, you have to remember that. We the people are who actually drive change. We the people, you, your kids, your husband, your wives, your moms, your dads, you the people are who actually is going to change this town. I am a native. I actually do like my town, but I remembered when we took care of each other differently. As a child growing up in this town, this was one of my favorite times of the year because my mother worked at the Stardust. Do you know what the Stardust did every year for the kids in Las Vegas? They threw an actual ridiculous gala style party for every child who worked inside of the Stardust to actually attend. This was the one time all year that parents knew that their employer had their back and gave them a break. We were there for hours. They had banquet tables that literally went from one side of the room to the other. Every kid got a Christmas present. We all got candy, stockings. They went all in. All in. I will never drive past the Stardust without feeling an actual sense of nostalgia and pride. And that is the type of things that we need to be able to restore. Those are the types of feelings that we as the citizens, we as the workers of those casinos deserve. Because you have to understand people, employers, companies, conglomerates. You are nothing, and I do mean nothing, without people walking in through those doors and actually carrying the weight for you. It's important for them to see you in their communities helping them to better and enrich their lives. Because again, if we were to boil each one of these casinos down to just one place and you couldn't go anywhere to get everything else, can they get their groceries from you? Absolutely not. But can you actually help to make sure that they actually have the things that they need? Yes, it's important. Do you want to pay more for health insurance than you absolutely have to? No. But that was actually a part of the Affordable Health Care Act, is that we actually could have actually changed things to make things better. And if we simply put people over profits for once, because it is important to think about the people. We, the people, put us before profits. You will always see your money come back to you. That's all that we have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, or if you want to cut this into pieces and share it with other people, please do. We want for our community, we want for the West Side community, we want for the greater West Side, for the great city of Las Vegas to actually be what I remember it to be. Great again. Goodbye. We'll see you next time on Tuesday.